Alright guys, hello and welcome back to another episode of Raging Loop. Last time, we ended up with Haruaki getting shot. Obviously he's gonna be okay. I don't know if it was like fate bulletin and he didn't tell Chizumi? Chiemi. I knew that name sounded wrong. Chiemi. I was confusing two people. Or I was combining two names from two different games. But also, we have successfully convinced the villagers not to do the feast, and they are on their way out of here, except for the old wolf guy, which obviously need to deal with him proper. So, on the chat list, we have old wolf guy and the Hidarumas. I'm assuming we're gonna use the old wolf guy to somehow broker a deal with the Hidaruma. Get them to like give up the paper properly so they don't actually have a reason to do the feasts, the modern day feasts, and obviously Rikako has to be dealt with somehow. We haven't even she wasn't even at the big meeting last episode, so yeah, let's just continue on here. Not like they could actually die though. See? Fake bullets.
マジでどういう神経してんだ君は。一応聞こえたらまずいからしーね。
So they're just like hanging somewhere on the cliff.
しー。よしよし、いい子だ。ちょっと悪い。学習能力すごすぎるぞ。
Basically, I just bungee jumped backwards the moment Shimmy fired. Wait, so it's a real bullet? Isn't that like super risky? The rope couldn't be too long because we could end up hitting the cliff, so it was only about 10 meters long, but it was bungee jumping nonetheless. Okay, that's actually crazy risky. Like, what if he just missed timing? He would have just died. It's kind of hard to time a bullet. Obviously, you can prepare when you like see how they're gonna shoot, but still. Didn't think you would do something like that for like the final loop, right? I'd prepared the rope during the little time I had after getting the mask. I only had one shot at this and it actually worked out. With this, God was dead. Great Lord Shinai Yamotsu Ukami, the two-faced god of fear and oppression, was killed by a fitting stage and a decent plot. He spoke his last words for each of the weak, yet good people of Yasumizu. He understood them well and encouraged them to follow a different path. Then he reconciled with the true god, the one given the dirty name of Badger, and passed on the rites. They no longer had a reason to fear the mist, blindly follow the fate laws of the mountain, or kill each other because of some legends. They would never hold the feast of the Yomi Purge again. So, Mission 1, stopping the people of Yasumizu from killing each other in the feast, had been completed. Even Chiemi, who was so afraid of Great Lord Shinai and God, had literally defeated the source of her fear. I could only hope it fits her murderous side too. Anyway, the sun had sunk and we had to move before it was completely dark. I switched to the other rope I had here and went down to the Saranaga. Alright, we made it down, but what was I to do with Mako? She's our sidekick, man. Yeah, we can't actually, like, leave. Wait, considering the story I made up, I couldn't bring her with me. Oh, I just realized. I think he's going to... Because he said the companion would meet the villagers at the end of the Saranaga. I'm guessing he's gonna just go without the mask. And that's why I can't bring Mako, obviously, because she's supposed to be dead too. Alright, because I remember wondering about who that be, but it could just be him, I think. Alright, I'll just make her wait. Stay still. That's a long ass time to wait for a kid. Yeah, don't talk to strangers.
お菓子
Oh,
はまだたく
nice.
さんあるぞ。いつもはダメだが、今日は特別だ。
She ran off, and I turned around.
来やがったか。なんつ
Oh,
う霧だよ。10歩先も見えやしね
or maybe I was right the first time. I said like in the other video that maybe she would meet the villagers, but I didn't think so because the sheep said it's gonna be on the run from the dreamer, so I didn't think they'd have time to meet, but I guess it's fine. So that's what happened?
羊さん、
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know.
茶番は終わりだっつったよな。ああ、お待たせ、みつじ。なんだったんだよ、一連の茶番はよ。
Did we ever get that name?
いや、別れた彼氏を謎の方法で追ってきたんだと思って全力でスルーしようかと。聞くだけ無駄だった。てめえはそういうやつだよ。
I'm a little confused. It's been a little bit since I did the last episode. Dude, that sounded like talking to God, but
君はいつも有言実行だよね。
it's the sheep. I just didn't know we got the sheep name.
こんなのは無理なんだいっつんだよ、バカ。
Behind her, there are 3 rubber boats with oars.
で、これからどうすんだっけ。これから半ば放心状態の一団がやってくるから、
How did
適当に
Haraki
神様っぽいことを言
lap
って
them
誘
though?
導して適当な宿泊施設に保護。
Okay, so that's what's happening.
後半はいいけど前半は何なんだよ。まあ迷信とやり合うための方便ってやつさ。君だってある程度
True. Yeah,
ここが
okay.
そういう場所だって分かってるんだろ。
I just don't remember getting a name for the sheep.
まあな。めんどくせえ。あのコンビニ店員のノリはやめときなよ。一応言っとくけど。ありゃ相手がてめえだからやったんだからな。いくら俺でもあんな非常識じゃねえっての。プレイだったのか。マジで殺すぞ。君の能力とかバックグラウンドとか後ろについてる組織だとか、そういうのは
Organization.
当然聞いていいんだよね。
It did kind of sound like he was part of a group like a while ago.
ああ、まあもう会うことはねえし聞かなくても問題ねえだろ。そう言って別れて2週間くらいで再会したでしょうがあれ何なの。もしかして本気で偶然。偶然だと言いたいとこだが、まあ縁ってやつかもしれねえな。本気で言ってるのか。ああ、世の中そういうもんだからな。本気の蜜汁ほど信じられるものはない。信じよう。本気っぽく見えるてめえほど信じられないものはねえけどな。
Damn. We laughed.
で、そろそろ真面目な話しよっか。もうすぐ俺は黒幕に捕まるぞ。
Especially since you're so close.
まだ耐えてたの。まだってなんだおい。こっちは必死に時間稼いでるつもりなんだぞ。なるほどなるほど。だから何もなかっ
That's
た
why
の
her
か。
Kako was in there. She's
Okay.
fucking
めちゃくちゃ
searching,
助
man.
かった。じゃあなおさら急がなきゃだ。まあ一応気をつけろ。なんか君には父に赴く時を見送られてばかりだな。
And that's like the whole relationship
父って。まあ
for the majority of the
さっき
game.
は助かったから次も助かるな。うん。いいから無事に帰ってこい。別に迎えはしねえけど死んだら後で目覚めが悪い。了解。まあ生きてたら一歩入れるよ。いや考えてみたらてめえが死んだらどのみちゲームオーバーだから別にいらねえ連絡。
Yeah, we don't really have an option to lose, or Japan's done.
ひどいな。やれやれ。ま、行ってくる。まずは神様を殺したんだってか？ああ、次こそ君の要件。巻き戻りの黒幕とやり合ってくる。
Mission 2, I had to deal with the Master of the Loop who wanted the monster's resurrection. I feel like the Hidoruma thing would be easier to tackle at this point, but I don't know. This one didn't need as much preparation or acting skills as the first one. Can we just like shoot her? But like, wouldn't it just restart if she dies? So I don't really know how you deal with it. All the info I gathered over the loops was enough to make me certain by now. I mean, definitely should be certain by now, considering there's only one or two villagers that didn't leave on the boat, and you know it's not the old man, so. I just had to face the person one-on-one and be completely honest, that was easy. But the person was the problem. I'd probably be walking on a fine line here. Are we really gonna talk her way to convince her not to, destroy Japan? I mean, that might be the best way, but still. And I don't even, like, know the reason. Or, I don't know if Haraki knows the motives. He might, since he knows more than me. But, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be tricky. I had no idea how well my thoroughness, guts, and verbosity? That's just, thoroughness. I don't know. Would hold up against the enemies. Heard of the word. I forgot what it was, though. And once the final mystery was revealed, I wasn't sure I'd have what it took to properly retaliate. It was something I'd have to consider at the moment. I had to do it. Yeah, sure, we got it. Probably. I got up on the cliff again and hid near the graveyard. The mist was dense and I couldn't see much, but I was used to it, so straining my eyes helped a lot. I soon saw the people of Yasumizu absent-mindedly make their way down Saranaga. Everyone besides the old wolf guy was there. Good. Yeah, she stayed. I guess they probably wouldn't allow him to come, because they believed we're God, and they're like, what, you're disobeying God, even though he's dead? After confirming that, I went to the plaza. Hey, buddy. He was standing alone in there. Yeah, I don't know if he knows us. It's just we don't have the mask on. But he doesn't believe in God, I think, so he probably wasn't fooled by that.
いいですよ。そんなふりはしなくて本来あなたの仕事でしょう。こういう例外的な逃亡の阻止は。てめえと
There we go.
話したくてな。
There's that old scowl.
ふりをやめてくれて助かります。手っ取り早く済ませましょう。てめえ何者だ。俺と同類ってのは身車の手のもんにしちゃわけが。
I mean, we're doing the opposite of what the Midoruma would want. He was putting his hand into his clothes to take out a weapon, surely. Unfortunately for him, I already knew his cards. True. I was trying to say that. He did give us the idea somehow to kill God, though he didn't really help. He just said, you know, you can kill God, you can kill any human creation. But that idea like sparked up the plan, so props to the old guy, I guess. Even if it was unintentional. His eyes were filled with a silent anger.
60年だか前の事件を今さら蒸し返しても警察も困るでしょうし、あなたが心を入れ替えてちゃんと安水を守る気を持つなら、このまま生かしておいてもいいで
You
しょう。
really want him still living here, though? I don't know. I mean, if you want to keep him alive, then sure. But I feel like just for the betterment and future of Yasumisa, you probably should like get him out of here, right?
随分と大冗談じゃねえか。
荷車は廃れますよ。
あ
今日は何も起きない。今後霧が立っても一切何も起きない。なんなら
I mean,
いいこと
something
があるかもしれ
good.
ない。
Well, just having no more feasts since no one's gonna follow the tradition anymore. Was that really enough to stop the Midoruma? Like, what if they just countered it by like doing some fake mystical shit too? But if that's enough, then I'd ask.
あなたの仕事も隠れ家ももうありません。水路もすべて
Kinda say if they can't convince them to do the feast, then maybe like they would just go harder on the old man. Because they're just keeping him alive just because it would be a hassle to get the receipt thing, and also like they could use him for like the feast, but without the feast his value has diminished a lot, so they might just go for him directly.
さらに安水の住人ももうあなたをただのボケ老人とは見なしません。
何の証拠で。
さっき気づきませんでしたか？あの場には銃を持った人間が2人いた。
Two?
知恵に以外のもう1人はずっとあなたを狙っていた。あなたが暴れた時、
Who?
至近距離からあなたを殺すために。
Who was packing? Mako? Mako with a tiny gun?
あなたは猛録した。あなたが人を殺せるのは霧の中で狼装束を着て神の意を
It's so crazy to me he was the big wolf guy, but I guess it's just like the fear amplified, the natural fear instilled with him kind of like enlarged the old wolf guy.
たった今
That's what my
あなたが
headcanon
僕
is.
に切りかかっても僕はそれを余裕でかわし転ばせ踏みつけて殺すことができる。そうなるとせいぜい不意打ちしかできなくなるって言うんですよ。しびれ薬でも飲ませるとかしないとね。
Which is also a surprise attack, technically.
でももうそれも無理です。あなたがここに居座っても住人たちはあなたに心を許さない。ここはもうあなたの砦じゃない。あとは皆に頭を下げて死ぬまでかくまってもらうか、それとも東京のつて高を頼るなりどこへなり行くか、どっちかを選びなさい。
つまらねえことに。
That's what you say when he loses.
十分楽しんだでしょう、あなたは。
You killed enough.
いや、最後にも
Oh, he's still going for it. He
よけてみ、わけえの。
That's not enough smooth talk for him. He raised his blade, took an unexpectedly fast step towards me, then tripped,
だから言わんこっちゃない。
and he just stabbed himself.
ああ、滑った担当が口から脳天に突き刺さって即死ですか。
But we would have died. It's not like we planned the trip thing.
天
That
網
was just
解体ってや
unlucky.
つならもっと苦しい死に方にしてほしかったな。希代の悪人の最後としては。
Just random karmic justice, I guess. That's so random, man. I thought he might have had a plan or something if it went haywire, but bro just tripped.
草が結ばれてる。誰だ。こんないたず
Oh,
らやったの
okay,
は。
so he didn't just trip. Someone did something.
その誰かには一応感謝しておこう。 罪悪感を持たれてもあれだから、ほどいておくか。
But I don't even know what the tying grass means and like how someone would do it like in the perfect spot knowing this would happen also seems weird. Unless it was actually just Rikato, then that would make sense and she can do mystical shit. Anyway, I was satisfied with the results. I thought about this and that, but as long as he was alive, he'd always have been a danger to someone's life. That's what I was gonna say. Like, he couldn't, like, be here, and we were kind of kicking him out, but, like, I don't know. It's definitely, like, evil to the core. One of the few times where it's like, maybe it would be best if he was just dead. Plus, he's, like, super old, so... He has a lot of stuff going for him, for, just killing him off. That was all he'd done his whole life, and it was best to accept his death for what it was. Leaving his corpse, I went off to where I had to. Of course, he wasn't the one in charge of the dream, so he wasn't my real target. Extra mission, get rid of the latent threat. The violent old man completed. Little side quest on our way. Mission 2, dealing with the master of the loop who wanted the monster's resurrection, would begin now. It's crazy that Ricato's not the final boss. I think we are gonna somehow deal with the heater room after this. Though I guess they're all equally important. Because even if you stop Rikato, what if they force the feast again and people die? So, it made sense. Obviously, one in the large scale things is more dangerous, but immediately all of them are necessary. Not in the dining hall or back home, huh? Then maybe here. There is like a random shrine that they show like at the beginning of the game and we just never went there again. The culprit's plans must have changed badly because of Mitsuji's hard work. Don't remember when they revealed the sheep. Maybe it was 2 episodes ago. He talked to the cashier. She was right there.
あなたはどなた？
いいですよ、そういうのは。
Technically, they haven't met in this loop.
ご存知なんでしょう、全部。
不妻子春明様、お待ちしておりました。
The two acquaintances who never met exchanged a greeting. It was a very normal greeting, but that was what made it warped and strange.
そりゃ光栄だな。
でもこんな形では望まなかった。何も知らぬまま夢の中に遊んでおいていただきたかった。あの羊は仕留め
No!
ました。
Not the sheep.
ご心配なく、彼女はただ夢に
Alright, at least she's alive. Not the sheep,
取り上
man.
げられた。ただ再び蘇る円環の中では彼女は
The raising loop.
無力なる観客として指をくわえていただきましょう。
否定はしないんですね。
No point in denying anything.
あなた
Cards on the table.
すべての黒幕だということの。
It's the final showdown. We're showing everything we got.
先ほど望まなかったと申しましたが、私は存外喜んでおります。春明様がそこまで私を
We almost got married.
幾万の
That's the
夜の
crazy
命を
part.
としてこの場に至ってくださったことに、長き宴の末にこのような日が来ようとは私も思いもしております。なればこそ知りとう存じます。春明様、 どのように知られたのですか？私がすべての糸を主会と。
Well, before Haruaki explains, I think my reasoning's pretty simple. Once we learned about the existence of the dreamer, because I wasn't really suspecting Rikato, like, before we established that someone was, like, doing all the looping. But then, like, I don't know, like, when you're that far in the game, there's only, like, a couple possible people. I think my list was Rikato, Chiemi, Mako, and the old wolf guy. Old wolf guy just solely because we knew nothing about him and he was sussy. Same with Mako. And obviously Rikato had powers. And then once you just do the extra loops, it kind of just whittles down, right? But we thought it was Rikato for a while out of those people, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I probably had a better explanation like when we initially did her. I mean, she has mysterious powers. She never really dies until the end of each loop. How she's nice to Chiemi, Haraki, and Mako, the three outsiders who were additive to the dream. Like, it all kind of points to her. Also, the little thing with Nosato. Like, I have a feeling like she wasn't even like here, like in childhood. When you asked Nosato about her, like, how was she when she was like a child? How did like cholera affect her when the outbreak was happening? And he kind of like hesitated. Like, it seems she kind of just like implanted herself in.
え、だってあなた、さっき全員が揃った場でいなかったじゃないですか。
So big tell, obviously. But she means before that.
それだけですか？
Surely, right? There's no way you didn't think of her before that.
いや、違いますよ。
Okay. No, because he spoke of the dreamer without revealing who he thought it was, like, pretty directly a couple times, so he probably knew for a while too.
お聞かせください。どのように私
And obviously the most meta thing is how she was on the interface for the tutorial, saying how she's, she's just a bystander, she's no one important, and then it turns out she's a literal character. Then it's like, oh, meta arguments, and obviously that gets solidified once you learn about the sheep actively interfering in the game. It's like, okay, if he's meta, then like the most meta call out would be Rikato, who appeared in the same way as the sheep before at the very beginning. She'd gone back to the heart of the matter. She'd probably punch me if I said something like, "You're a spider, of course you're pulling the strings." Wait, that's so funny. You should have definitely said that. I take it seriously. Of course there were things I didn't understand, or more like I understood because I didn't understand them, though that was kind of complex. Yeah, I don't know what you mean, but like there's questions about motives, like what is she? Is she actually like, I know we talked about like spider gods. Is she a spider god? Or something? I don't know. It was the spider. The Uematsu guardian and symbol the spider. Japan had no faiths that revered them. The other guardians had archetypes. Archetypes? Yeah, archetypes that were clearly related to mountain religion. Even the wolves, the spider, however, wasn't. The Shinai faith was a religion created to control. Thus, there is no reason for it to include anything without a clear origin. In fact, it was completely unlikely that a family of prostitutes would use the Jorogumo, Yu-Gi-Oh reference, or a term for orb weavers for normal people, as their messenger. After all, that was a yokai, not a god. Though the difference between them was minimal, but God still needed to gather faith. So we're saying that somehow, well, maybe not Ritato, but maybe Ritato, like, also influenced the creation of this religion to add her own, like, spider thing, is what he's saying. Because I guess it made sense. I don't know much about Japanese mythology, but I guess the other ones would, like, kind of work with the mountain setting. Crow. Well, I don't know about crows, but birds are literally everywhere. Literally, when I was in my walk for the morning today, my morning walk, a fucking bird just hit me in the head. Like literally I was watching, something hard hit me in the head. I'm like, what the fuck? And I just see this bird like hanging on a branch really close to my head, just staring at me. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? So I'm not a big bird guy. That kind of just lowered stats for all birds in my book, but regardless. We also had monkeys, wolves, and what else? Oh, snakes. Those are all like mountain things. I don't really like contribute snakes to mountains, but again, they're kind of like birds where they can be almost everywhere. But monkeys and wolves fit. Spiders, I mean, I guess spiders kind of fit the same thing where they're probably everywhere, but they're just tiny insects, so it's kind of weird to elevate them to god status. In other words, Juragumo, Ugumo, and all that were just anomalies, strange incidences that could appear anywhere. Incidences? Is that a real? Okay. I need to Google it. Sometimes curiosity gets the best of me. What the fuck are... Isn't it just incidents? Not incidences. It's a real word.
Incidents.
Versus incidents. Incidents refers to the frequency or rate of which something occurs, while incidents refer to specific events or occurrences themselves. Huh. See? That's why I like to Google stuff. You learn stuff every day. So incidences are just broad, while incidents focus on specifics. Never knew that. Learning with Raging Loop. Unless they garnered faith from the locals for many years, were accepted, and could live beyond just words, they weren't gods. However, the Umetsu actually had no divine authority despite controlling the most mystical section of the Shinai faith. This was strange. Of course, the Umetsu had a weakness in that people looked down on them because of their nature. However, the amount of suspicion, cruelty, and harshness directed at you was just unnatural. And that was despite being a good person most of the time. Unlike Kyonosuke-san. Excuse me? I wondered why. The Umetsu had divinity in the Shinai faith too. That's when the spider archetype came to mind and turned my question into suspicion. Yeah, I never really suspected Rikako off of that, but maybe if I was more mythology inclined, especially. Well, I mean, just in general. I'm not that big on mythology and old religions and stuff like that. Maybe that would have clicked more. The Umetsu, the spider, might have been some sort of exception in the Shinai faith, an unnatural entity. It seemed to me that the spider's god could be an outsider that didn't fit in with the mountain faith. The ritual to take in the corruption could have easily been the secret centerpiece behind the whole faith, no? It was a miracle that could cure everything, after all. It was something that any new religion would kill to have. Imagine all the adherents they could gain. And if it was the real deal, any cult or dogma with weird origins would forcefully add it to their teachings. That wouldn't have been weird, right? The historical documents prove that many outsiders had come to help create the Shinai faith. Some might have been people from some shrines that wanted to take the snake, monkey, or crow for themselves. Then they also might have given themselves authority by putting their symbols in their teachings. The current village heads might have been the descendants of such people, though that could have been a stretch. Now, who is to say that the Umetsu ancestors didn't enter the settlement during this time and ran their symbol into the religion? Heretics who believed in a warped god. It was included in the religion, but only on a surface level. The truth behind it had been hidden by the Umetsu and wasn't included. He's basically saying, like, someone could just leverage it, or some outsiders could come in and like, hey, we're kind of holy too. We worship the spider. Is like, I guess, an alternative theory to what happened. That made everyone here unconsciously feel that there is something unnatural, something wrong about them. Thus they were looked at with scorn, and that was probably why they could take the disorderly profession of prostitution as their family trade. Though that was just an assumption, you could tell me if I was wrong later. Next, it was time for doubts about her as a person. This is the stuff I could probably relate to more. I'd experienced the looping phenomenon. At first I thought it was something that happened once I died. But then I realized that wasn't right. I keep my basis a secret, but I realized a few things once I thought about the loops that happened without my death. For example, there were loops that happened without me having any memory of dying. That's shout out to the one where we hanged Mochi prematurely during the second route. I'd underestimated it, thinking that it was only because some memories, especially ones of your death, weren't saved properly. However, there are definitely loops that happened without me ever dying. It was just the general image of the loop that gave me the idea that the mist, death, and rebirth were all linked, making me assume that I must have died. When I thought of it like that, I started thinking that the loop happened not with my death, but with the dream's master. That's the opposite of how it usually was in such scenarios. Normally the master's death meant the end of the loop, but most people had died many times within all this looping. Again, like I said, Ratato doesn't die until right at the end of each loop. Technically. Even the first one, when she's a Yomi Bito, quote unquote, she doesn't actually die, she's just like locked in the house, so. Looking at it that way, the loop should have stopped a long time ago, the master should have died if the loop didn't end. Thus I began believing that the death of its master activated the loop. That would make sense, after all they could try it again if they messed up. They could instantly take full advantage of the looping as I'd first thought I had. Of course, it was possible that the culprit was in a safe spot far away, like Kami Fujiyoshi or just the mountains, and that would make this impossible. I mean, not for the powers, but just to solve, it'd be a lot harder. That would make them impossible to reach. Yeah, well, that's what I said. But they could reach this place all they wanted. Of course, the Midoruma observed Yasumizu from a distance, so they could have done that easily. However, there was something strange. I'd seen so many deaths, but there was one person whose corpse I'd never seen. We did see Rikato's corpse. When she was hanging, she died. And I guess we didn't see her when she got stabbed with us, since we died like at the same time. But we definitely saw her corpse, so this was just wrong. Oh, it was Meiko! True! Yeah, another reason why Meiko was suspicious. She literally... Yeah, we definitely didn't see her corpse. She died in the first route, off-screened by monsters in the mist. The second route, she just lives, like, both times, hopefully. Even in the bad one, she kind of just runs away. And third one, obviously, we stop it before anything bad happens to her. But yeah, Meiko. No matter the route, I hadn't seen her final moments. That made her really shady. True? She'd seen that ending once though, so I figured it wasn't her. She didn't know of the conspiracy. You still don't really know her story, since it really seems like she's just not the sheep, and I was wrong. But what's up with Meiko, man? Hopefully they touch on that. But there was someone else who seemed shady. It was you, Rikato Umetsu. I'd only seen your corpse once when it was supposedly all over, but you were hanged in the hall. I looped soon after. Well, I tried killing myself then, but looking back at it, the mists were already there before I fell. The looping was strangely linked to the mist. For all I knew, I might have looped without actually dying. Yeah, we kind of like jumped off. So, true, that could have happened. Besides that, I never seen any of your corpses. You were the only one who left the game in unusual ways. The chief example of that was the Yomi Bito transformation. You'd gone insane and had been locked in. But you stayed alive to be alive, right? True? Even if your madness was real, it should have been possible for you to survive inside your house for a few days. And obviously no wolf would target her. There's no reason to. If that was some sort of act, you could have drained some water or hidden some food for yourself to survive. Well, I didn't think it was a complete act, but even so, your actions were strange. The reality that you took in the corruption of the feast actually made my suspicions for you all the more certain. The Yomibiro transformation was just you taking Chiemi Serizawa's murder penalty for her, right? That had to have been impossible. After all, the Feast of the Yomi Purge was an artificial killing spree run by the Midoruma. True, technically no supernatural stuff except the looping has happened. Besides it, that's like God doing her possession things. And Ritako healing you. That's definitely some supernatural shit. So I guess, yeah, how would and whenever the corruption's out, it's just dealt with death, right? So the whole she took in the corruption wouldn't work. Which I didn't really think about, actually, until he mentioned it, but it made sense. It wasn't something that could be cured by your ability. However, there was someone who knew about the cameras, the Eye of the Midoruma, and was capable of asking for something like that. Someone who could bend the rules like that without undermining the Shinai faith. The Midoruma would readily accept their wish to die instead of the actual rule breaker. There had also been one time you told me to run. Had you expected for your desire to succeed for the same reasons? While thinking that you looked a bit shady, I'd found even more proof of that. If the culprits were really the Midoruma, like I said before, they were surely observing this moment too. They could use their safe position to easily press their loop button or something. It's not the Midoruma. No one thinks it's the Midoruma. I consider that the culprit had watched it all from the mountain with clairvoyance or something, then reset everything at certain times. But the culprit seemed too naive for that. Anyone who watched enough would easily understand that I kept my memories. They would recognize me as dangerous and take care of me. That meant that the culprit had to have the perception of a normal human. Thus, to make something happen in Yasumizu, it had to be someone in Yasumizu. You being the culprit would also explain why you prepared Mako a separate place. After all, you knew that the mist was coming. I didn't really connect that, but I guess. I think, like, in general, you can pass that off as, like, since the whole village is supernatural, it wouldn't look weird to them since they're always kind of, like, on edge about the feast. Kinda. But I guess that's a little suspicious, but I don't think it's that big. And lastly, you said this.
もし明日会えずともいずれまたいずれのせいでより穏やかなせいで巡り合いますよ
This is when she got stabbed, right? I mean, I didn't really feel like this was suspicious either, because that's just, I don't know, that seems fine. It's like, we're both dying, I hope we meet each other when we reincarnate. It's funny you brought up none of the stuff I thought that was super, well, the corpse thing was the big one, but like the whole keeping close with Meito, Chiemi, and himself as like the new blood. That wasn't right, was it? The Shinai faith either denied or forbid resurrection. Oh, wait, he's a genius. That's why they said Rayleigh's not. Wait, I didn't even connect that layer of it. Yeah, I guess if she was, like, true to herself and was really so Shinai-pilled, she would never say, let's meet again in another life, because they don't like resurrection. Okay, that's a good one. That went over my head. Because, like, when you first hear the line, it's like, okay, that's normal. Normal, like, I'm dying stuff to your lover, but... yeah, this is actually a good catch. Good one, Haruaki. It was forbidden for something to go to Yomi, then come back. Someone who could say that was either part of a different faith or knew about the loops. Damn, I would have never got that, but I feel like people probably could pick that up if they're a little more perceptive than me and thought about the religious angle. It turned out to be right on that. One more thing. What else you got?
きっかけはわかりませんあの日 墓毛越しに春明様を一目見たその
It's
時だ。
referencing the first route. This was a mistake that I made several times myself. Did she say that in a different route? I thought she like saw. I think she said that in the second route, but I thought she saw him like she was like creeping on him like in both routes. They saw each other like hiding in like a bush before, like in both routes. But he's saying that it only happened in the first route, maybe. So this seems like it's showing. This was a mistake that I made several times myself. You said something based on memories off of an event from a previous loop. I did think you were extremely careful in that regard, but you weren't above slipping up. You said those words in the timeline where I'd moved to Yasumizu. But didn't they like... You know what happened? Like, I clearly remember what happened in Route 1 when she was just like in the bushes when he woke up from Chiami's apartment. But I thought in Route 2... Didn't like something similar happen? Maybe not. I know they met like in the forest, but I thought like there's another similar scene. But I could actually just be misremembering. Oh, I just hear the explanation. When we first seen each other then, you were behind a rock. One of the Okiba at the entrance to Yasumizu, not behind some leaves. Okay, behind a rock. But she was behind, hiding, kinda. So I guess that's where that image popped into my head. But it was off. Okay. And well, yeah, that's the first scene we see her. That was the day after I crashed and ended up in Shimi-chan's room. Our very first meeting, right? You also had memories of the loops. From your perspective, did you have any other reason to hide that besides the fact that you were the one behind all this?
以上ですか。
It's pretty good.
ええ、
Pretty good
不足ですか？
deduction.
いえ、十分です。私は先ほどあなたがここに現れるまでは何が起きているやら混乱するばかりでありました。
Assuming she like I thought I was confused for a second, but I think she meant like him coming right now, not his initial coming to the village. I mean, I would be confused too. It's like, what the fuck? I thought I won twice, but some sheep's been looping? Messing with my loops? That'd be crazy.
私がずらした夢の始まりが私の許しなく二度も揺り戻された。そもそもあなたや芹沢様が夢に変化をもたらす理由も確信は
I guess we still don't know why Chiami
何もありませんでした。
has her memories still. Because it's kind of implying that, Ratato... Because I thought maybe Ratato let Chiami keep her memories so she can create the future with, the monster. But it kind of seems like she didn't do that from this conversation.
ただあなた様の
That's a
僕が
big
もう
slip
やっ
up.
たという
That was pretty early
お
on,
言
too.
葉から
Oh, no, that was in the second route.
少しは考えていたのですよ。
It was like Ratato and fucking Haru, like, eavesdropping on that conversation. I knew I shouldn't have said that lightly.
もしそうならあなたがなぜか記憶を保っているならどれだけ素敵だろうと繰り返す宴の中自分たちだけが思い出を分かち合えるとなれば
It's weird, just from this conversation and like earlier in this conversation, it seems like she enjoys doing the feast, especially with Haruaki, but she also wants it to end, so...
女性はそういうのが好きですね。
It's bonding time.
愛のみにて死ねる生き物ですから特に 植松の娘はね。
They sowed love and lived by feeding off of it. That didn't make sense.
あなたが愛を語るのは奇妙
She
だ。
looks fucking... She looks creepy, but she also looks really high right now. Wait. Doesn't she? Kinda.
なぜ？
あなたの神は怨念の神だろ
The spider? Thought it like protects people.
そこまで知っておいでで。
う。消去法ですよ。あれだけの奇跡を起こせながら真意を感じさせないほど廃れた存在、忘れられた雲の神たり得るもの。植松家は土雲だ。
The Wada. I think this is actually a name they said during the Spider Dot episode, talking about all the lore. They named like a bunch of different ones, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the full details if they gave any. I thought they were pretty vague. They just said they weren't proper gods, so they got like banished or something, or people just didn't remember them, so they faded in time.
この国の精神上の始祖である天津神の血族に滅ぼされた芦原の中津国の土着の民
Not
の
even
末裔
gonna
が
try to say that.
あなただ。
So she really was indigenous, just not from America. Crazy.
その象徴するものは太古の現在、この国の民が心の底の底に秘めた最初の罪
And
に
that's
対
why
す
they want to
る罪
destroy
悪
the
感。
country to avenge their fallen people. Okay, that made sense.
今の自
We
分た
kind
ち
of
の
got a
繁栄
motive
を
now.
大昔の虐殺の上に打ち立てておきながら、それさえ忘れていることへの危機感。
I mean, that's true for like most countries, to be honest. To be honest, like most countries were conquered by some people long ago and established to what it is today. Same with Canada, obviously.
それはこ
But
の
you
国
can't
全
blame
体を覆っている
the people who got conquered for feeling bad
し
about
か
it,
し致命的
obviously.
な呪いめいた感情だ。そして感染者の母数が多すぎる。具現化すれば国を滅ぼすような天変地異を起こしかねないほどに。
So this ritual is taking this... I'm trying to like logic this out. So the ritual is taking the curse-like feeling and materializing it into something that will actually destroy the country.
それが夢の中で抽象的に表現されたのがあの化け物ってところでしょうか。
お見事ね。
Oh, she looked super high. The smile. She smiled bewitchingly and applauded me. This wasn't the silent, bashful Rikako-san from before. It was all an act, man. That sucks, because I really liked her personality. I thought it was so funny and adorable. Oh, good times. This was an entrancing, shameless Umatsu. Her master's a prostitute. No, I didn't know which one was the master at this point.
そう。私たちはその身に夢の土雲を宿した怨念の一
Wait, that means we can exorcise her. Save her, man. Put the Holy Spirit into her. She'd been acting bashful while hiding this sentiment in her heart. Yeah, I hate that it's all an act. Feels bad, man.
大和の民の皆殺し。
With that as her sole goal, she praised the devotion and sacrifice of the people of Yasumizu and used them.
一度は叶ったその悲願を引き戻した。あの羊と春秋さんの
Detestable and lovable.
子に暮らした。今や愛おしい。
どういうことかわかりませんね。
あなたはすでにあそこにたどり着いた。だからあなたの記憶をその時点で止めて。あなたは確実に
True?
同じ結末に
That would be
たどり着いてくれ
GG.
る。
Well, would it? It kind of depends on the route, right? Like, it wouldn't happen. I guess she would loop back, but then the funny thing is, we only got the monster ending because we had knowledge of our loops. I feel like if we loop back without our memories, we wouldn't get the monster ending. We just get the first route over and over again. Unless Chiemi does something to fix it. I couldn't deny that.
むしろ愛しくて愛しくてたまらない。愛しきあなたにこのように赤裸々に全てをさらけ出せる機会をくれて、私の身も心も今とても喜んでおります。
She freaky. The sudden switch in tone and the content of her words made me dizzy. To me, she was actually more enchanting, adorable, and beautiful than ever. I don't know about that, but different strokes, I guess.
いいえ、雲は貪欲よ。食べられるものはみんな愛おしいわ。嫌味ではない。本当に愛おしい。ヤマトの民は憎いけれど、それすらもはや愛おしい。彼らをすべて焼き滅ぼして、この腹の中に収めた。
She rubbed her abdomen.
そこで皆を地獄の気楽の夢へと誘いましょう。とこしえの官能に泣き叫ぶ一億の御霊を末永くとろかし慈しみもてあそびましょう。だから私は本当に皆様を愛しています。
I believe you. It's just twisted. The spider's archetype was the Great Mother. That was what this reminded me of.
とりわけあなた様。
She suddenly looked away like she was bashful. The situation was abnormal, but the gesture was one that could shake the core of any man. Come on, Haruaki. The fate of the country is on the line. Stay focused, buddy.
ですよ。理解できない。
わかるわ。いずれご存知なのでしょう。夢の土雲が復活する条件。
I actually don't know what it is.
わかりませんよ。
Yeah, okay, glad I'm not the only one.
あなたの目的はあの化け物の復活。そのために読み意味の宴を繰り返す。
Or what even triggered it.
事実、その2つには直接的な関係は全くない。ただ、怪物が復活したあの瞬間だけ、宴の結果に極めて特殊な条件が発生して
It
い
was
た
like
のは
one wolf live and two other people. It was just Rikako and Meiko, right?
それは霧が出た時点で休みずにいた藤吉村住人の全員があなたを除き死亡していたということ。
Is that? I didn't even think of that. I guess I didn't think about that hard enough. Is that the trigger? All the Yasumuzu people have to die in the feast?
ああ、
But I feel like I could have connected that if I thought about it. I probably didn't also because I considered Rikako part of the Yasumuzu people.
そこまで気づいて。
I knew it.
もしこれがあなたの目的なら、あなたがこんな異様で持って回った陰謀を起としたことには、なるほど、合点がいく。植松家には大量殺人を行える権能など存在しない。吉ンバ一人や二人殺せても、あなたの細腕では絶対に目的を遂げることはできない。その上、植松家は休みずで敬遠、または嫌悪されている。 あなたは宴を生き
I
残れ
mean,
ない
she does a pretty good job every time.
だから殺し合いの機会を利用するうまくいかなければ何度でもやり直す
So I guess that's really the only trigger. All of them need to die. Not even in the feast, just all of them need to die. And she just chose the feast, so it's the easiest way to do it.
ああそこまでは分かりましたとも
That was where the final secret lay. It pissed me off, but I had to ask her directly. Ooh, the final secret? I wonder what that is. I feel... And I guess we'll see next time. Perfect cliffhanger here. Okay, Rikato finally confronted. We see her true personality. Which is cool. I don't know how we're gonna stop her, because like she said, she can just restart the dream now. And then we'd forget our memories and it'd be GG already, so... Gotta stop that somehow. Probably from a lot of talking. I don't know if we can talk our way out of the end of Japan, but try our best, I guess. Also, Old Wolf Guy died. Rip. How did he die? Someone tied grass and he slipped and fell on a knife. No idea. I think we will just chalk that up to like a karma death somehow, even though, you know, he's been doing all this shit for a billion years. But again, it's probably best that he died. And we saw our girl, the sheep, one last time. And I guess, like, it's fully gone. The idea that Meito was the sheep is fully gone. Even from, like, the past couple episodes when it should have been obvious, there's, like, a tiny percent of my heart that was like, somehow she's a sheep. And the sheep doesn't realize it, but... She's definitely not the sheep at this point, like, at all, so yeah, we're just gonna have to see. Hopefully they explain her. I mean, they have to, right? She's so mysterious. It'd be crazy if they don't give her an explanation. I still think my idea of her being, like, a slave from the Hidoruma might be valid, though I think it's kind of been implied that they don't do the slave trading thing anymore, but... I don't know. We'll see, we'll see. Anyways, thank you guys for watching this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time on some more Raging Loop. Later.